What is up, boys and girls, and welcome to our first official support tier list of Season 14. The new season is here, and I am going to be your tour guide into deciding what to play, how to climb, and how to climb fast. So if this is your first time on the channel and you don't know who I am, my name is Ioki. I am a multi-season high elo support content creator. I play support at every single level, whether it be in solo queue or in competitive. So again, I want to tell you guys exactly what to play, and how to thrive as a support, because right now it feels like the meta is all over the place. It's a very chaotic, exciting time to play support, and honestly the role is feeling a little bit better, a lot better actually, than it has in recent seasons. So again, this is going to be a very short and dirty, quick and to the point video. I don't want to waste any of your guys' time because I know everyone is excited to get out there and to start climbing. So we aren't going to spend a whole lot of time on this tier 4. I mean, you can see what champions are in it. Basically, right now, the rough and dirty meta for support is a lot of burst, a lot of early fighting and scrapping, skirmishing potential. Tank supports are very, very good. So we're going to go from worst to best as we go up the list. These champions, they're not necessarily terrible. A lot of these champions are sitting at somewhere around like 48 to sometimes 49% win rates. But essentially, these are champions that haven't quite found their build, or maybe the new items with the rework just doesn't really suit them. Pantheon's one of my absolute favorite. He's one of the hardest carrying supports out there, but the new items just don't really suit him. And it kind of feels that way for a lot of these champions. Enchanters are generally weak. There's one exception to that we'll get up to later in the list. But yeah, Yuumi is pretty terrible champion for solo queue in general. Some of these champions can be locked in as really good counter picks or very, very niche picks. Things like Poppy to counter hyper mobility and stuff like that. But yeah, Swain, Shin, Set, Ahri, these champions just haven't really found their build, found their place in the support meta. So we're going to get into champions that maybe you should actually start thinking about playing. Tier 3, these champions are average and should only be played if you are skilled with them or used as counter picks. Now, I don't want you to look at this and say, wow, that's still pretty far down the list. These champions are terrible. I'm going to avoid them, because these champions do have a place in Season 14. Zilean, for instance, is feeling a lot better than he was. He just can't quite compete with the absolute cream of the crop top of the tier list. Miss Fortune is a really fun off-meta thing. I just made a video on her, actually. You should definitely check it out. For AD marksman supports, things like Senna and Caitlyn and Ashe and Miss Fortune, you're going to be wanting to go full lethality. Right now, don't even think about crit itemization. The new lethality items like Hubris, the reworked Youmuu's, Umbro Glaive is always really, really good for vision control. That's what you're going to want to be doing. Don't do AP, don't do crit, lethality, lethality, lethality. We've got Zyra. I mentioned earlier that hyper burst and high damage champions are very, very in meta. There's a couple champions that are struggling in that aspect. Zyra does have good itemization with the new Storm Surge. There's no more mythics, so she can build Liandry's and Ludens if she wants to. But the items are pretty pricey for support range, and a lot of champions that directly counters Zyra, like Leona, like, the hard engage that can just jump on her, they're really, really good and in meta right now. So it's hard to just blind pick Zyra and one-shot champions. It's possible, but you're going to have a hard time competing with all the big burst and the, like mid lane and jungle and top and ADC and stuff. It's possible. It's definitely playable. So these champions are good. They're average. They're definitely playable. Now let's get into the champions that I actually think you should be playing, because these aren't the absolute cream of the crop. These aren't the absolute top tier, but these champions are all very, very good within their niche and what they do. I mentioned earlier, tank supports are very good right now. You can pretty much lock in any tank support, and they have incredible itemization. The new support item transforms into basically giving them a free crown of the Shattered Queen, which means that tank supports can be a lot more forward facing in fights. They can look for engages that, without fear of getting poked down, because they essentially have 2 to 3 seconds of being invulnerable, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, Alistar, Thresh, Rakan, Nautilus, Rell all fall within what I just talked about. Tank supports are very, very strong right now. And in addition to that, there is lots and lots of fighting early. So if you lock in a support champion, any support champion, you better be ready to fight at levels 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because the new jungle timings, the way that the jungle camps are cleared, the way that the new map has been terraformed, everything is conducive to fighting early. There's also 2 new objectives in the top side of the map. Grubs, and I say 2 because they spawn twice. And everyone is fighting over him. Everyone is fighting over everything. So, you know, you may not want to lock in champions like Yuumi, who need time to scale and who aren't necessarily good at early fighting. You may not want to lock in champions like Vel'Koz. Rel is much better at fighting level 1 through 4 than, you know, a poke champion, right? So that's why these champions are so freaking strong. Now, Senna, I almost put her into tier 1 because if you slot her into a comp that can actually protect and play for her, again, lethality builds are super, super broken. That being said, you know, exactly what we just talked about, you know, Thresh is going to be more well-equipped to fight at early levels than Senna is. She needs some time to scale, and these games are moving so fast. So Senna, my darling, my baby Senna, yes, she is very good right now, but you need to be a little picky and choosy as to which comps you lock her into. Nami, one of the better enchanters. Again, enchanters are just kind of not really doing super good right now. I think the itemization for them is a lot more subtle, whereas, you know, they do have the new support item Dreammaker. They can build Moonstone as a non-mythic, which opens up a lot of itemization options, but it doesn't really feel like anyone is playing enchanters right now. And that might just be because everyone wants to one-shot each other. And once the game slows down, once the meta slows down, we'll see enchanters kind of rise to the top. But right now, everyone is just fighting. Everyone is just one-shotting each other. Nami and Sona. And Sona's actually a little bit misleading because the only reason Sona's good right now, or one of the biggest reasons she's good right now, is because there's a double support item meta going on. And she's one of the absolute best at abusing it. But we'll get into that in another video. Essentially, Nami and Sona, if you're going to play an enchanter, it should be probably one of them or the secret enchanter we're going to talk about later that's in tier 1. Neeko, Xerath, these champions have really... AP itemization is so much better than it was last season. I still wouldn't say that Neeko and Xerath are like the quintessential supports, and you're probably going to tilt your team by locking them in. But if you're going to go AP mage champions, yeah, they are better than Zyra and Brand right now, surprisingly. Champions are pretty good. Bard is coming off of a very hot streak in Season 13. He isn't quite top tier since he did lose his main item. Radiant Virtue is no longer in the game, but Bard is still very good. And he is, as I mentioned, well equipped to fight and scrap and roam early. Ashe is insanely good. I really think that Ashe is going to get some champion-specific nerfs because she is very good with items like Tempest. Is it called Tempest? One that shoots light and dark. I think it's called Tempest. But anyways, Tempest, and then of course the new lethality items are all really good on Ashe. You want to go Halo Blades though. Don't fall into the new trap of going Comet and like playing for W max. You want to go Halo Blades. You want to get in their face. You want to fight them starting level 1. All right, so those champions are very good. We've gone over some pretty baddest champions, some pretty decent champions. These champions are good. Now we're going to talk about the absolute cream of the crop. If you can pilot these champions that I'm about to show you, you should be playing them because they're very good. So we've got, I'm not joking. I am not joking. I'm not trolling. Teemo's support is unbelievably good right now. And I'm just going to show you his win rate. Not that win rate is everything, but I'm going to show you his win rate just so you know I'm not trolling. 55% win rate as support across 63,000 games. That's a lot. That's a lot. Teemo's support is unbelievably broken. They've already nerfed him once. He's still sitting at a 55% win rate. His itemization is nuts. He can go Liandry's into Storm Surge, Shadow Flame. Those items are interchangeable, but he does so much damage. He can abuse the new support item Bloodsong, so he gets Zazak's Realm Spike, so he gets essentially another burst on his abilities. He's just stupid right now. Like, Teemo's support is unironically, I mean, I've been saying for years that Teemo's support is busted, but now he's really busted. Like, you should dodge if the enemy team locks him in busted. Pyke is very good at fighting in the early levels, and that's what this game is all about right now. Once again, lethality options to slot in are super varied and really great for him. Still going to be going for Umbral Glaive. Youmuu's is good. Axiom. The new Bloodsong item is amazing for him. Blitzcrank, you want to go... This one's a little tricky. Blitzcrank, he's got a new item called Trailblazer, which this champion is just all about catching people, right? That's what his W is all about. That's what his Q is all about. And there's a new item called Trailblazer that essentially makes it so you can catch anyone. And what Trailblazer does is after not taking damage for a while, you're going to be ramping up your speed and then also speeds your team up. So you can be looking for picks in this season that would never work in the other season. Because, like, yeah, in season 13, Blitzcrank may be able to sprint ahead of his team and hook someone, but no one's going to be able to follow up. With Trailblazer, you're going to be speeding your entire team up, so they will be there to follow up. Very, very good. I actually recommend you slot into one AP item. Shadow Flame is really good on this champ. So Trailblazer into Shadow Flame, and that's a really, really fun, amazing build. Maokai is, of the tank supports, he's definitely the tankiest. He has the most survivability. And as I've mentioned like 5 or 6 times now, it's all about tank supports and damage. So if you have champions that can be tanky and also deal damage, champions like Maokai, Taric, and Leona, that's the cream of the crop right there. That's the absolute best. So these tier lists, I usually go into a lot more depth for each and every champion, but I wanted to do this as a very rough and quick tier list for you guys to get out there and start abusing these champions for LP. Next patch, once the meta settles down a little bit, we will be introducing more champions, weirder and wilder off-meta stuff, some really wacky champions. But these are the core set of champions that are typically played as support. And I hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. If you guys have any questions at all, I want this to be a comment section for you. I'm going to be answering as many questions as I can, all the questions I can in the comment section. So if you guys have any questions about like what to build on certain champions or how champions fit into the meta, I'm your guy, okay? So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Check me out on twitch.tv/Ioki and enjoy the tier list. Peace.